Watching and connected, but it's never enough. Talking with our friends about our favorite things. TV shows and movies and some random swearing. Hey! 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 This is the pretty, this is the little, this is the pretty little podcast.
Rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep those doggies rolling, 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 rolling. Rawhide. You bastard.
Oh, welcome to the show, everybody. Chucky, it's that time of year. The catch-22, I like to call it, because I love the fall. I like the Halloween season. I like Christmas. Thanksgiving's all right. But the thing that pisses me off most about this time of year is the advertising. Have you witnessed this phenomenon every year when they roll out the spooky savings?
Yeah, with all the fucking candy at the grocery store.
I hate it. I hate the gimmicks that they try to use to advertise to you this time of year. Fall into savings, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's not creative at all.
It works.
Yeah, well, does it though?
Our department at work has had a full bowl of candy since October 1st. It runs out like on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. It's disgusting, but...
But are they really being advertised to get that? I mean, it's candy. Everyone's buying candy this time of year. What I'm talking about is like when they put up signs like, look, one of the easiest ways to get me not to shop at your establishment is to tell me that you're going to scare up some savings for me. I hate it. What type of person drives down the road and sees a sign that says we got spooky savings and they have to stop there? You know? Advertising
is just so...
I get that it's illogical and I'm being pissy for no reason, but it just the lack of creativity in advertising anymore. It really bothers me. It's stupid, I know. Anyways, I just thought I'd air a grievance out at the top of the show. Do you have any grievances to air?
Oh, I can't say I do. I mean, I do, but none specifically. I mean, everything pisses me off.
Yeah, I think we're at that age where just life in general just kind of irks you every now and then. But that's one of the things that just, I can't stand it. I know that's a me issue, but anyways, what are we talking about today?
Whatever you want, man. Hey, let's talk about the Israeli-Palestine conflict.
Okay.
You can cut this part out.
Well, I'm not gonna. Anyway, so today we have another movie review. This time it was one chosen by me. Tideland is the name of the movie. If you're not familiar, it is directed by Terry Gilliam. Does he need an introduction?
He was the American from Monty Python.
The only American member. He was, aside from being in skits, he was responsible for the animation. That's like, was he in any of the Flying Circus skits? I am not extremely familiar with Monty Python. I know that's crazy to hear because people my age tend to be, but
I have a feeling that. Well, I mean, he did all the art for it, like all the so he was a part of Flying Circus because it just. I
mean, yes, the animation for sure, but as far as being in the skits, I mean, I assume he was in skits, so I would assume that was part of Flying Circus.
I just can't remember him. No offense, Terry, if you're listening. Can't remember from any of the actual show skits. The movies, I
didn't see any Monty Python until I was probably in my 20s.
Yeah, I saw Holy Grail and Time Bandits way in Brazil before I even knew that Flying Circus was a thing.
Yeah, I was far more familiar with him as a director than I was Monty Python. I knew what Monty Python was, and obviously the animation is a big part of that show. I just didn't know that was him that was doing it until later on. I think I want to say Brazil was probably the first movie of his that I saw. I mean, the guy's a legend. He's directed many films, probably 20 at this point.
Time Bandits was the first that I saw.
Yeah,
My
Time
dad
Bandits-
was obsessed with Terry Gilliam, but he didn't know that Terry Gilliam was directing these movies because I had already seen Time Bandits at least 20 times, and Brazil, I couldn't even say how many times I saw it by the time I was 7 but recently when I told my father that we were doing this podcast about this movie, and I asked him, Terry Gilliam, and he said, who? I was like, and I ran down the movies and he was like, oh, that was all the same guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're familiar with him, it's real easy to. I mean, his movies have a very distinctive style to them. The sets are always cluttered with shit, and they're just
Lots of zooming in and doing close-ups.
a lot of fisheye type lens work going on. Yeah, real close-ups on faces. And what would you say is your favorite Terry Gilliam movie?
Fear and Loathing.
Fear and Loathing is good. That's real good. For me personally, it's probably Brazil. I don't know if it's just because that's the first movie I saw. That's one of the movies that I can just put on any time. I've seen it so many times.
Same with Fear and Loathing.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times. All of his movies I've seen multiple times. You can put any of them on and just have it on in the background. And if you're familiar with it, you're not going to miss anything. But
Time Bandits is on my list of favorite childhood movies.
yeah,
In fact, it might. I mean, I don't know whether I saw Neverending Story or It first, but I was obsessed with both of those movies.
I feel like Time Bandits is one of those that they showed us either in school or daycare or something. Because now that I am familiar with the movie, I definitely have memories of it being, daycare age watching it. That his movies are just kind of epic in their own way. Like you take a film like Adventures of Baron Munchausen. That's like Homer's Odyssey as far as his filmography goes. The
point I like to make is he seems to repeat himself a lot, maybe in like little trilogies, because Baron Munchausen reminds me so much of Time Bandits.
Yeah, they're very similar. A lot of his movies do have similar feel to them. Like
with the movie we're talking about today, Tideland, I'd put it in the same category, definitely, with that Brothers Grimm movie.
Yeah, I think they were filmed pretty close together too.
Yeah, are they in threes or are they in pairs? Because I can't think of anything else he's done that's like Tideland or Brother. Well, I'm saying that, but I've already drawn the similarities between Time Bandits and Tideland so much because of how much what he likes to put child actors through.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's similarities between 12 Monkeys and the Zero Theorem. I would have to say Brazil is probably my favorite. I would not put this movie, Tideland, I would not put that even in my top 5 favorites, but I do like the movie. I get that it isn't great because it's not narrative driven. It's got a setup and a payoff, but then in between, it's just kind of a stream of conscious, like childlike sense of wonder about what's going on in a situation that she is put into that's beyond her control while still trying to just be a child and have an imagination and not really fully understanding the depths at which this movie is fucked up.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. There's quite a few things going on in this movie that you could tell why it didn't do well.
You mean the part?
Aside from the silly kissers. Yeah.
Silly kissers. Oh man.
Aside from that, just the situation and all right, we're gonna get into this.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to throw out there, like, I'm a big fan of Terry Gilliam's. I don't know that any of his movies are bad, in my opinion. I think they're all entertaining. Some are better than others, but I don't think that none of these are getting a Razzie or anything. Like, these are legit films.
Yeah, he's definitely in my top 10.
Yeah, he's up there for me too. I have every one of his movies with the exception of like probably the latest 2 on Blu-ray or DVD.
What has he done recently?
He did that The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
Saw that.
That and
Wouldn't say it was bad.
yeah, I saw it. I think that was on Amazon at some point. I don't think it was great, but I was entertained. Yeah, okay. And then The Zero Theorem was the movie he did before that, so I got that on Blu-ray. I think that's a fantastic movie.
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of his best.
I don't know if it would work well for the podcast because that's one that's like in that movie like 3 hours long. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot to that film.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to comment on that movie.
Yeah, I mean, to dissect it and pick it apart, that would take a while.
Yeah,
that's a lot of work.
We're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do some Jodorowsky right after that, and we'll have fun talking about those.
Sure. No, this ain't that show, guys. Just so you know, if you're looking for in-depth conversations, breaking down movies and what they mean to us, and that ain't this show. But yeah, so Tideland. This is probably one of his least known films. It definitely performed the worst out of his movies. Mainly due to the fact that this was fully funded by him as a passion project. He on the Blu-ray, he does like an intro thanking you for watching the film and kind of explaining that this movie is
holy shit. I remember that. That was that on all versions, or was that just the German copy that I had to watch?
Okay, so I had the DVD and I had the DVD, and when I got the Blu-ray, I got rid of the DVD because I didn't really need it anymore. And I should have kept it because that's the one that had the intro in English. The intro on the Blu-ray is dubbed in German, but I have seen the intro a couple times in the past. And the gist of it basically is him talking to the camera, thanking you for watching the movie, explaining that this is going to affect people in a weird way.
I saw it. It was on when I watched it on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah. That's the version they included on that then. But yeah, for some reason, as far as I know, the only way to get the Blu-ray is the German version, but it is in English with German subtitles, the movie itself.
Yeah. Speaking of subtitles, like I told you, I watched it on Amazon like a month or so ago, but I was just watching it in little pieces. And I noticed when I was watching it, I had to turn the subtitles on because of Jeliza Rose's accent. Mm-hmm. I couldn't understand half the words she was saying.
Jeliza Rose.
She's great, but I had to turn on the subtitles, and it was the German version. So when I was actually paying attention the second time I watched it, I didn't understand half of what that little girl was saying. Yeah, it was great. It was just...
Yeah, so Jeff Bridges is in this movie, and I had that same problem with him. And I get that.
I've heard him talk so much I can understand anything he's saying, kind of like Cannibal Corpse or something. Right. Not that I listen to Cannibal Corpse, but people that listen to that style of music all the time can just tell the guttural yell, and right. I can tell Jeff Bridges' guttural yell. It's
well, yeah, it didn't help me at all because the subtitles on this are in German, and pretty much anything he said just kind of went over my head. But his character really isn't all that important, I guess. So anyways, all right, so let's set this up, right? So you've got this, Jeff Bridges plays a character who is kind of I don't know if he's a washed up musician.
He's definitely washed up.
Okay, yeah, he's on the decline for sure.
It doesn't really specify if he was ever, popular.
Right.
When we meet him, he's playing in a dive bar. He brought her with him, didn't he? Was she in the dive bar with him?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and he's performing on stage, and this song that he's playing, like, I don't really like it, but it does kind of sound like a mix between like Viagra
Nick
Boys
Cave
and Butthole Surfers.
Oh,
and
okay.
I like both of those bands, but together it just kind of doesn't work for me. But to his credit, he is the one singing it. So, and I believe he is actually playing the guitar. So that's kudos to him. But yeah, it's just kind of a weird psychedelic rock type band that he's in, and he's playing at a club, and they finish up and they get back home, and that's when you find out that home life for this little girl, Jeliza Rose, by the way, is the main character. She's 7 years old, I think. Same girl that was in Silent Hill, the Silent Hill movie. And she was great in that too. Like, she carries this movie, by the way. This is the entire weight of this film is on her shoulders, and she nails it.
Yeah. She does, like, how many voices in it?
Yeah, she's essentially playing like 4 characters. She's playing her and then her imaginary friends that we'll get into later. But anyway, she's got a real fucked up home life. Her parents, I guess they're, at least Jeff Bridges is her father. Jennifer Tilly is in this, and she's playing the mother figure. I don't know if she's biological or not. They never go into this. And she kind of mothers her, but then calls her a little shit.
Yeah,
like,
she touches her chocolate.
Yeah, but
I'd call you a little shit if you touched my chocolate, Chad.
She just doesn't act motherly towards this little girl. So I just kind of assumed it's like this is his girlfriend or something. Maybe I don't think they're married. I didn't notice. I looked. I didn't notice wedding rings on him or anything.
You didn't notice him or her referring to her as mom or mother or anything?
No.
Mama?
Nope. They don't even like. They don't even say the name of Jennifer Tilly or Jeff Bridges in this movie.
Are you sure? Okay. I'll take your word for it. Because I know he talks about her after the fact, whenever they get. I'm jumping way ahead here.
Yeah.
All right.
Essentially, he's kind of a washed up or never has been singer at a dive bar. Jennifer Tilly, God, she is a flaming bag of hot mess in this movie. She is not. She looks terrible.
I wouldn't kick her out of bed.
She's
Jennifer Tilly.
She is like Courtney Love turned up to 11 at her worst.
Yeah, my kind of lady.
And she is definitely a lady. She's just kind of sloppy. Everything she says is real like gruff. She's constantly smoking. She's dressed in like.
She kind of reminds me of Queen Carlotta from Desperate Living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
Get it.
Okay, so it says here Jeff Bridges' character, his name is Noah. I didn't know that. Jennifer Tilly plays somebody named.
Dude, they had to have mentioned because they keep talking about him in the, when they're. Sorry, the lady in the shroud.
What?
The lady in the shroud that loves Noah. The ghost lady.
Later on in the movie. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I guess they do mention his name. But it's so quick, and I think that's the only reference to his name in the film. So he's done with his performance, and he gets home. We see that this little girl has a very fucked up home life because
she sets him up.
Yeah, Daddy's going to go on a little vacation. That's what he likes to call it. For those of you unaware, that means that he is a heroin addict. And this scene is a little disturbing.
Is that a euphemism? Do people say that?
What, going on vacation?
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Well, I mean, okay.
Yeah, he says Daddy's going to take a little vacation. And meanwhile, you've got Jeliza Rose is in the kitchen. She's got some heroin in a bowl. She's loading up a syringe. And
man, she had to have practiced that so many times.
Yeah. This movie, just so you know, that it puts her in a lot of situations that you're not normally going to see children in a film. Not only because of moral reasons, I guess, but just because getting a scene like that into a film is not easy to do when it comes to the censorship bureaus and all that. This is a lot of
just finding some parents that will allow their children to do that. For one,
yeah, exactly. Like, where are you going to find a parent that's going to allow their child actor to perform a scene like this? And there's many scenes in this movie, by the way, that I just really are kind of disturbing. Mainly just because it is a child. But anyways, she is filling up a syringe full of heroin, and Jeff Bridges, Noah, he's tying off in his chair. And
no, he's not.
She ties
He's just sitting there.
Yeah.
He allows her to do every step to cooking it up. He did inject it.
She is not on frame.
But but she got it ready to the point of getting the air bubbles out of the top of the needle.
She's got the
She
damn
did
thing.
every step except for actually doing the plunger. You know what I think? I think the producers or such were like, okay, she can do this, but we're not going to let her depress the plunger.
Yes. She's got the damn thing, the syringe in her mouth. Like
She's
it's a fucking dog
she's
bone.
propping his feet up. She's after he goes on vacation, she puts his arm above his head and then bends it like a nurse.
And by the way,
It's adorable. It really is.
I have actually been around.
It makes me want to have kids.
Right. I have actually been around a heroin addict. I have seen a heroin addict inject himself, and I don't remember this guy falling asleep that quick. This like hit him immediately. He was out. And that's when she's in there. She's not even done putting the shit away, and he's already gone.
Yeah.
He is.
I don't know. I've never been around heroin, so
It's not good. And
it isn't?
You don't want to do that. It'll ruin your life very quickly. But anyways, so yeah, he injects himself. He's gone. She's putting his arm up over his head, I guess to help the blood flow or something. She's very, very learned when it comes to.
I'd assume it's to stop the bleeding.
Is that what it is?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I just figured it got it in your bloodstream quicker or some shit like that. But
No, you got to put your feet behind your head to get that effect.
why? Is this true?
No, Chad, it's not true.
Thanks, man. So yeah, anyways, he's passed out. She's taking care of him. And then you've got Jennifer Tilly's character who's in her bedroom, and Jeliza goes into her room and she's hanging out with her on the bed, and
She's trying to snatch some sweets is what she's trying to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is like
No, that's all she's trying to do.
Right,
She's got her eye on that chocolate the whole time. Whenever her mother is smothering her with kisses, she's just like, she looks like a cat that doesn't want to be petted. Just like, get the hell away from me.
She looks very uncomfortable. Jennifer Tilly, like I said, she's just looking gross in this movie, and she's got this stash.
To each their own.
Yeah, she's got this stash of fucking chalk bars. It's just called chalk, and I mean, it's a whole like big ass box full of these things. And Jeliza Rose reaches over to grab one, and that's when Jennifer Tilly's attitude towards her changes pretty quickly to calling her a little shit, slapping the hell out of her, and basically.
Then love bombing her immediately after.
Yeah, right. Jennifer Tilly's character in this, she's never seen doing any kind of drugs, but you assume that she is a drug addict. I assume heroin. Because after that scene with the chocolate bar situation, Jeliza Rose goes to bed, that's when Jeff Bridges comes into her room, and he's got this book, and he's just like, mumbling his ass off. I cannot understand a single fucking word he's saying, but he's like...
It's because he's chewing his own lips off.
Yeah, what is this fucking book he's got? It's like full of Aztec gods, and he's like mumbling about one of them and how they're going to go meet. It's fucking weird, but
If I had my notes, I'd tell you, because this is one of the parts that I wrote down. It was really like eye rolly, like his eyes rolling around in his own head and like sweating. He was on meth, or well,
I think he just woke up from his heroin.
No, he was. It was definitely speed to
took an upper to
and then
out.
Eventually he was going to have to get her to bring him down. It's how he started. It's his cup of coffee, obviously.
Yeah, I can see that. But anyways, he's mumbling about some weird mystical shit in a book. And that's when I guess he talks about going on a vacation with her, like a trip somewhere. God, I can't remember where it was, like Norway or something. And that was what they were arguing about. Like he and Jennifer Tilly are arguing that he wants to go to Norway, I think is what it was. And she's like, yeah, you and that little shit can leave whenever you want. But anyways, the next scene is Jennifer Tilly in her bed, having an overdose of some kind. They never show her injecting anything or whatever, but
he says that they should have kept her on the shit. That methadone they got her on is what killed her. So,
okay, he said methadone. I heard medicine.
No, it was methadone.
Okay. It sounded like he said mama's, or not mama, but her medicine killed her.
That's not how methadone works, by the way. I mean, you have to go and pick it up, and well, I from what I've heard, you don't take it home and shoot it up in bed,
Right?
And the stuff that they give you at the clinic doesn't kill you when you get home and go to bed. But
right, it typically helps, right?
yeah, I mean, they're doing the thing that movies do where they don't know drugs that well, and they just
Which is weird because
a lot of movies do. One of the worst offenders I've ever seen was Requiem for a Dream, which is a great movie, but the way they treat like drug addicts in it, they're just like, they're either zombies or they're bouncing off the wall, and
yeah,
there's no
like I said,
consistency to it.
I lived with a heroin addict, man, and I could tell you, like, when they shoot up, they become lethargic and lazy, and until they do eventually just go to sleep. You know? But anyways, Jennifer Tilly at this point, she's spazzing out on the bed because she's overdosing on something and passes away. And she dies on her bed. When they find out what's going on,
My favorite line. Now we can have her chocolate.
yes, yeah. Eliza Rose comes in there. Don't be upset, Daddy. Now we can have her chocolate. And she grabs the whole fucking box, and it's the most ridiculous amount of chocolate that anybody would have stashed away.
Yeah, it's Cartman's under his bed box, or the one that he took to camp.
Yeah, this is like she stole that from somewhere. No one bought that much chocolate. Certainly not with the living conditions they were in. I don't think they could have afforded much. But anyways, then Jeff Bridges is over there. He's trying to set fire to the bed. We got to burn it. We got to burn it. And that right there. That is drug addict behavior. When something goes wrong and your first inclination is to burn it. And, Jeliza Rose is over there like blowing out the lighter. And she's, no, Daddy, that's not a good idea. And so he agrees. And their next step is to go to his mother's house out in the middle of nowhere. Did they even mention where this is? Did they mention like where the farmhouse is?
For some reason, Kansas jumps to mind.
Sure. I mean, it's as good a place as any. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. It's just in a field of wheat.
Yeah. It's beautiful nowhere.
Yeah. The movie, by the way, this movie is beautiful, just like any of his movies. While it may not be well known and it may have been very low budget, it still looks like a Terry Gilliam movie. It's still a very beautiful movie. So they get there and they realize that the farmhouse has been like ransacked. All the furniture's messed up. There's graffiti all over the walls. The door's barely hanging on. The place is just in utter shambles at this point. They just make themselves at home. Jeliza Rose goes and finds herself a room and gets set up. She's unpacking all of her clothing and everything. And that's when we realize that she's got some imaginary friends, which are doll heads. And Barbie doll heads, I guess, that she puts on her fingers and has conversations with. And that is kind of the movie, is her conversations with these dolls. Aside from, two other characters that show up in this movie, there's not very many characters in this film.
Well, 3. No, well, yeah, 3. 4 if you count the lady at the end, but you're leaving out the guy that visits. Jumping ahead again. Sorry, man.
Delivery driver.
Yeah.
He shows up for a little bit. But anyways, they get there, they make themselves at home, and what's the very first thing that Noah decides to do?
Go on vacation.
Yes, so he's got to go on vacation. So once again, we are treated to another scene of a child helping her father shoot up heroin. He passes out. And
he doesn't get up again. I'm not really sure if he immediately dies.
I think he passes away in his sleep. It's sometime in the middle of the night. So,
Yeah, because he starts making air biscuits
right.
eventually.
And so, yeah, there's kind of a running gag in this with like,
Is that what it was? Air biscuits?
Yes.
Is that what he called it?
one of my
On
favorite,
the bus ride down, he started blaming his own farts on his kid on the bus.
Yeah, right. And that's kind of my favorite part of this film is like their interactions when he is actually kind of being a father. He's kind of a piece of shit in his own way, but they do have little back and forths here and there. Yes, they do take a bus out to this farmhouse, and while he's on the bus, he farts on the bus and blames her, and it's just kind of this cute moment where she gets a little flustered and embarrassed. And anyways, so yeah,
back to he's dead in the chair.
Yes, he dies after pretty much immediately getting there. His character's done with the film, other than just being a corpse in a chair for most of
He's like Weekend at Bernie's for another 30 minutes until something happens to him that I'm pretty sure she realizes he's dead now.
Oh yeah. So yeah, and the whole time he's there, he's once you pass away, your body releases gases. So the whole time, Jeliza Rose just kind of thinks he's farting.
Yeah, because every time she jumps up on her daddy's lap and lays on his belly,
Yep.
it
releases more of the air and yep. So
air biscuits.
She's still kind of back and forth with him. And I guess not back and forth at this point. It's a one-way conversation, but she still thinks he's alive and trying to fart and blame her. This is where I get a little muddy. I think at this point she starts venturing out on her own with her doll heads, of course, having conversations. I don't want to dissect too much of this. I don't want to get too in-depth, but she eventually finds out they have a neighbor that she thinks at first is a ghost, which is it's just a woman. It's an older woman dressed in black. She kind of has like a widow's veil.
Well, she's reading Alice in Wonderland. We've left that out. That she carries the book through the movie, and I think she thinks she's the queen at first. She says like she must be the queen, or maybe she's a ghost.
She thinks she's a ghost.
Okay.
And then after having a conversation with her, she thinks she's the queen. But yeah, she while her father's corpse is in the chair, she's reading Alice in Wonderland, one of the Alice in Wonderland books. And there are some parallels to that later on, but I don't think it's all that deep, honestly. There's just kind of one scene that is very iconic to Alice in Wonderland that happens. Yeah, she meets the neighbor. And, like I said, at first she thinks she's a ghost. She thinks she's evil. And after having a conversation with her, she's happy that she likes her. So she runs back to the house and she's happy because the lady told her she can come back later on and they're going to have dinner or something. She invites her back to the house for some reason or whatever. And she's happy. And
she made a friend.
Yeah, she's happy she made a friend. In between the time that she was supposed to go back over there, that she was invited for, she goes back over there and notices that, I think this is the scene with the delivery boy. She's getting groceries delivered, and while the delivery boy is there, they decide to go out in the shed and have sex.
Yeah.
And,
little Forrest Gump's mom and principal scene.
Yeah, right. So Jeliza Rose follows them into the shed, and we have yet another scene with a child that's probably inappropriate, but she's watching them. And it's kind of quick, but she's talking to her doll fingers and asking the fingers what's going on, and the fingers are trying to explain to her what they're doing, and none of it's correct. But anyway, she knocks over a statue or something, and it gets the attention of the older woman who is credited as Queen, I think. Was that who she is? Let me look that up. But
I thought she was
Dell.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I first saw her, I thought she was Jennifer Jason Leigh.
I thought she was Robin Wright Penn.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
In makeup. Like, I thought she had like a prosthetic nose or something, but I thought that was who this was because
She reminded me of Daisy Gomergu from Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
When I first saw
She's
her.
played by an actress named Janet McTeer. I've never heard of her.
Her face rings a bell.
Yeah, I'm probably seen her in things. The name alone, I don't recognize.
You know, one thing that I noticed when I was watching this is Terry Gilliam's penchant for really not using the same actors. Like a lot of directors.
Jeff Bridges has been in. He was in The Fisher King.
Okay.
With Robin Williams.
All right. Well, I mean, there's got to be an
Tom
exception
Waits
to
has
every
been in a few of
rule.
his movies.
Yeah. What?
As
Well,
like secondary characters.
okay.
Just
Okay.
like background characters, things like that.
All right. Then I'm totally wrong.
No, as far as like lead goes, I think
Oh, no. Yeah.
Jeff Bridges has worked with him probably the most. Nothing off the top of my head, but yeah, you're right. He tends to get actors that are right for the
Maybe
role.
maybe it's because actors don't like to work with this guy.
He seems like a great person to work with. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
unless
know.
you're a child.
Yeah, unless you're a child.
God, you said you've seen Time Bandits.
Yes.
The main theme of that movie is me feeling sorry for that boy. That's all I remember from that movie when I was a kid was me just feeling sorry for this child and thinking, well, my life can't be that bad. At least this isn't happening.
He's drugged through it in that. Maybe we'll do Time Bandits one day. I'd like to do that one. That'd be fun.
It's great.
I mean,
It was supposed to be a remake recently, I remember, and I think Russell Brand was attached to it somehow.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
We don't need to remake Terry Gilliam movies.
We don't need Russell Brand, Terry Gilliam.
No, that would be very strange. But, anyways, back to this. So
now we know what we need is a Terry Gilliam movie made with the guys from Mighty Boosh. Not Russell, the best friend of Russell Brand.
I don't know, man.
I'm sorry, I'm going off the rails here. It'll happen.
That would be a
off
great-
the rails. That was an unintentional pun. For anybody who's seen this movie, God, I'm sorry. I got a pee-pee.
All right.
Yay. We're back.
We are back. At this point, Jeliza Rose has witnessed the Dell and the delivery boy having sex. She knocks over a statue and runs out. It gets the attention of Dell, and she runs out after her. And just, I don't know really what that was supposed to. That whole scene, I think, could have been omitted. I don't think it had any importance. It didn't explain anything. It didn't. All it did is.
Well, it set up the whole taxidermy thing.
Yeah, I guess she has a lot of taxidermy items in her barn.
There's just hundreds of dead animals.
Yeah.
Badly stuffed.
Okay, that's what it is. She knocks over.
They all look like that Geico fox, the bad car fox. You know that weird one with the wonky eyes from like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's amateur for sure.
Yeah.
She's an amateur taxidermist.
Yeah, and she proves
her
it
thing.
later.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, she does. This is where, again, I'm a little muddy on this because this movie is, like I said, it's just kind of a stream of consciousness things happening.
How about this? How about we get to the next big issue or part?
Go for it.
And that's her best buddy. God.
Dickens?
Dickens.
Okay, yeah. So we are.
Oh, Dickens.
So after that scene, shortly after, she's arriving at the house when she was at the time she was invited to be there, I guess.
Yeah.
Dell invited her over to the house later.
But she was still snooping. I mean, she didn't announce herself.
She didn't knock on the door or anything. She's just looking at him through the window.
Yeah.
Like a creep. And
which she should be doing. She's been invited over to a strange adult's house, And
She's
she
scoping
should
it out.
probably scope it out.
Yeah, she is definitely like getting.
I mean,
getting the vibe out of
she
it.
did ask her dead father if it was okay, and I'm sure her. Yeah, go ahead.
So Dell is in the house and she is arguing with somebody who. What would you say this character's deal is? Because he sounds like he has a mental issue.
I don't want to say it,
but it's. He explains it later.
He's got a head injury.
Yes. So Dickens.
No, he doesn't have a head injury. He had epilepsy, and they did bad surgery on him. They cut it.
He said he had an accident with. He said he was attacked by a shark,
Yeah,
which turned out to be. We'll get to that, but he said it was a.
it was a monster
shark.
Monster shark.
Attack.
Yeah, it was the train.
He was lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
But Dickens is this guy. He's a pretty good character, I guess. I mean, this actor is doing a great job nailing this character's.
Do you remember this actor from anything else?
I have seen him in other things, but let's see. His name is Brendan Flesher.
First thing I can remember him in is Freddy versus Jason. He was the
Okay.
kid that was freaking out.
Yeah, he was much younger than that.
Yeah, yeah. But the movie that really sticks out to me is a little thing called Rampage by Uwe Boll. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yes, I've heard of him, but I'm not familiar with
This
this movie.
is his most notorious movie, probably. It's that actor, and a big elaborate plot to kill like half of his hometown in a shooting spree and then blame it on his best friend. Sorry, spoilers. But when I first saw this movie, I felt like I'd just been put on a watch list because I had watched it.
I've never seen it.
It's I'd say glorified terrorism. It's
Oh, okay.
way out there. Yeah.
Well,
There's a reason Uwe Boll has you know who he is, and it's because of movies like this.
I knew he was because of just his infamously bad video game adaptations. And then when you trying to box or fight anybody who wanted to talk shit about his movies.
You sure that was him, or was that guy from the Boondock Saints, or is that both of them?
It could be both.
The same person.
Uwe Boll was definitely
Uwe Boll
challenging
directed
people that had problems with his movies to fighting him, which was insane.
Yeah.
But anyways, Brendan Fletcher is the name of the actor. He's playing a character named Dickens, who he's kind of out there. He's got a head injury, shaved head. He's got a scar running from his forehead all the way back to the back of his ear. It's a huge scar that he mentions later on. He was attacked by a monster shark, and he was lucky to be alive. So, just for clarification on that, what is a monster shark?
It's a train,
They've got trains running through this place.
which is odd because, at risk of offending some people, normally people like this guy are really into trains.
Yeah, well, I
And
think
he's not into trains at all. He
No.
wants to kill all trains.
yes, he has been attacked by a train, and he is not happy with trains anymore. He wants a train-free life out in the country. But I think that the implication here is that he was just a normal dude. He got in an accident because he got too close to one of these trains.
No, I mean,
Because there's a
it
bus.
didn't give him epilepsy.
No,
I
but
think he
the
was
epilepsy-
epileptic. I think he was epileptic and he got a surgery.
I think that was
And maybe he
part-
got put on the train to go get the surgery. And now he thinks the train gave him the.
I think the epilepsy came along with the fact that because she asked him about the scar, and he says that they had to go in and remove part of his brain.
All right.
And I think maybe that is what was kind of triggering the epilepsy, definitely triggering his speech patterns, his mannerisms, because he's really not all there.
What?
I mean, I think he's pretty high functioning for somebody who had part of his brain removed, but maybe that's just me. But I think what's going on here, that if you notice, there's a school bus there that's like It looks like it's been hit by a train.
Yeah, it's the first thing you see in the movie.
Yeah,
It's
so-
in the cold open that we forgot to mention.
It's fine. It's just where Jeliza Rose, once she gets to this place, she starts playing in a school bus that looks like it's been hit by a train. So I think Dickens was on the school bus when the train hit it.
All right.
Is what the implication is, and then now he's got all these mental deficiencies because of his injury and the fact that they had to remove part of his brain. And so the rest of this movie really relies heavily on the relationship between Dickens and Jeliza Rose.
Oh boy.
So Dickens,
This is where it gets bad.
yeah, Dickens, I would say, is probably mid to late 20s. The actor, anyway.
Oh yeah.
And Jeliza Rose is probably between 7 and 9 years old.
Mhm.
And they form a friendship pretty quick. They are best friends immediately. They play make-believe together.
It's kind of like that movie, The Professional. If the little girl in The Professional was the killer.
What?
My
That's a jump, but
it is sure.
Anyways, Jeliza Rose and Dickens for the rest of this film are friends. They're playing make-believe together. They hang out in this school bus together.
Talk about pastimes,
Yeah.
silly times.
And the whole time they're doing this too, they're putting like shotgun shells out on the train tracks because Dickens wants to kill
monster
this
shark.
monster shark. He's pretty focused on it through most of the movie. He is preoccupied with killing this monster shark. What else happens in this film? I know that this whole time Jeff Bridges is still on the chair. Jeliza Rose interacts with him as if he isn't dead.
Yeah, this is okay. What they become closer. He Dickens tells Jeliza about how he used to know her grandmother
Mm-hmm.
and how grandma used to give him silly kisses,
Yep.
which is tongue kisses.
Yes.
And then, for the rest of the movie, after this point, you're just like, please don't, please don't, please don't.
Yeah, because
They come like inches away from tongue kissing each other.
yeah.
They don't. Don't worry. You can keep. Well, I mean,
they kiss, but they do not tongue kiss, and it is a very awkward scene. But I guess Terry Gilliam's whole idea of this thing is it's supposed to be a childlike innocence.
oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's all played very tame.
Mhm.
You know, there's no groping or anything. It's just a quick little kiss, but it's still uncomfortable. And there are scenes later, you know, throughout the film where anytime they're together after that, they almost kiss. And there's a scene where they're like,
I think that's what reminded me of The Professional, is the way that she became infatuated with him, and it was still a wholesome relationship.
mhm.
Even though it made you feel really
Yeah,
creepy the whole time it was happening.
It makes you feel gross to watch it for sure.
But there was nothing wrong with their relationship other than the fact that the kid shouldn't have been there in the first place.
All right. Oh, by the way,
He was, I mean, if not for Dickens, that we'll get to that.
we should
Sorry.
probably mention, by the way, that Dickens and Dell are brother and sister.
Yeah.
He's living with her because of his issues. She's his caretaker,
Yeah.
essentially. But yeah, a lot of this film is, you know, she introduces her doll heads, which one of them's name is Mystique.
Mystique. That's what it was. What was the dummy one with the missing eye?
Yeah, god damn it. I can't remember the name of the dolls now. We should really prepare better for these things. This is a professional podcast. All right, we're going to do this right or we're not going to do it, right?
Right.
Anyways, Mystique is one of the doll heads. There's two others. And the way that these dolls work is that two of the heads don't like the other one, so they're constantly bad-mouthing her, and Jeliza Rose is flicking her around constantly and being mean to her. At some point, they find out that Noah, Jeff Bridges' character, is dead. And then we find out that Dell, who, by the way, they're in Noah's mother's farmhouse. So Noah has been there. He's familiar with Dell. They know each other. They have a past. They have a history together that was most likely romantic.
Yeah, there's pictures of him and her when they were younger.
Yeah. So at some point they were dating, or they were an item of some kind, and Dell is still in love with him, even though he is a corpse.
Mm-hmm.
And
one of the reasons she could be that way is because her mother has been dead for, I don't know, maybe 20 years.
Yeah.
Up in the attic and taxidermied. And
yes.
They're keeping her intact for what, the end times or something? So when she comes back, she can inhabit the body?
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was some weird, it's some kind of like, not really voodoo, but it's kind of like a voodoo specific to this universe.
Yeah.
Like it's not based on any kind of actual, that I'm aware of, ritual or anything like that. But yeah, I think the whole point of the being an amateur taxidermist, the animals and stuff, I think that was practice for what her mother was teaching her about, when I pass away, this is what I want done to me.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so Dell's mother has been mummified, taxidermied, whatever you want to, and she's in bed up in her room in the attic. And she decides that she's going to do the same thing to Noah, unbeknownst really to Jeliza Rose, because she comes downstairs, she witnesses Dell is straddling Noah, and she's kissing him and telling him that she loves him, and he is very obviously a corpse at this point. And she talks to Jeliza Rose about the process in which she is going to basically taxidermy her father. She's talking about how you got to like do something with the bones. I don't know.
I don't remember much of this scene. I remember what happens afterwards, but
she's down there. She's explaining to Jeliza Rose that she is basically going to taxidermy her father. Jeliza Rose has no idea what that means. She doesn't. I don't even know that she knows or cares that her father's dead at this point. But yeah, so we get that scene happens next, where at this point he's already mummified, but he's got like, a cavity in his stomach is open. That's when I guess Jeliza Rose decides to get rid of her doll heads, because she puts the doll heads in him.
Was it all three of them?
Yeah. Well, no, because one of them fell in a hole.
Yeah.
Mystique, I think, was the one that fell in the hole.
Yeah, Mystique's still in the hole.
She's not there. But she puts the doll heads in there. By the way, I think I got ahead of myself here, because there is a scene before this.
Yeah, down the rabbit hole.
Well, no, that comes after. The scene I'm talking about is the underwater scene, where she comes home from hanging out with Dell and meeting Dickens. When she comes home from that, when she walks into the door, everything is underwater, which is probably the most iconic part of this movie. She goes inside the house, and like all this is done practical. The production crew were like puppeteering all the furniture and all the just paperwork and everything. I mean, it's kind of a beautiful scene, and they're using fans to simulate the underwater effect of hair flowing and stuff like that. But they've got some kind of weird like post filters and stuff like that. There was a lot of editing and post that they did here, but as far as I know, very, very few moments in this movie were CG at all. This was all done with practical effects, and it's a pretty good result, especially for Terry Gilliam movie. That's what I'm kind of talking about when I'd say he puts his thumbprint on a movie. is scenes like this. It's very surreal. You get the sense of being underwater, but it doesn't look quite right. So again, it might just be like the imagination of a child, right?
Yeah.
Especially later on with the rabbit hole scene, with all the items in the rabbit hole that kind of they mirror things that happened in the film.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. That scene doesn't really add anything. It's just a scene that happens out of nowhere, kind of. But anyways, so now we've got the taxidermied father. Jeliza Rose is putting her doll heads in him. And I guess at this point, Dell has decided that she and Jeff Bridges are just a couple now. And they're going to live in this house together. And Dickens and Jeliza Rose are going to live there with them. So they decide they're going to spruce up the place because the place looks like hell. But that's when we're treated to the church hymnal scene montage where they're basically just whitewashing everything, and it looks like all they did really was whitewash the walls and then turn all the furniture upright.
Yeah, it looks like a whitewashed version of that scene from Weird Science. When you see it in HD, have you seen Weird Science in HD? Yeah. Man, everything looks like shit.
Yeah, there are some films that were just not meant to be shown in 4K.
It looks so blue on VHS.
Yeah,
you could see so much masking tape in HD.
The same way with Dark Crystal and The Labyrinth. When you watch those on Blu-ray and you realize that, like, oh, there's shit going on in the background. There's like creatures moving around that you couldn't see on the VHS.
Yeah.
But so yeah, they decide they're going to spruce up the house, which, by the way, looks no different, really. It's just, you can still see the graffiti and all the paper glued to the wall and shit. You can still see all of it. It's just whitewashed. And then they set up the table to have dinner, and they've got Noah sitting at the table with them. Again, this entire movie just kind of has this like fanciful overlay to like all the fucked up stuff that's happening, like having dinner with a corpse, or, you know, be a child helping her father shoot up heroin. There's a lot of, or just the kissing scene between her and Dickens. Yeah,
the dinner scene kind of reminds me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
the old man and the hammer.
It was bright.
Yeah,
if it was brightly lit and like way too fanciful. Yeah. After that, I believe this is where we get into the whole setup between her and Dickens.
All right.
Or maybe is it the rabbit hole scene? I think the rabbit hole scene happens maybe before this. Getting things out of order here is real easy to do because, like I said, this film is not narrative driven at all. It's a situational film where things are just kind of a stream of consciousness happening, and she's just reacting to her imagination and wherever her spirit decides to take her. She's kind of a very carefree child. She's adventurous. She's nosy. But anyway, so at some point it's when they're putting shit on the train tracks. I think they're putting shotgun shells on the train tracks, and as the train goes by, it starts popping the shells, and they start running from it, and that's when Dell comes out, and she's got a gun for some reason. She has a shotgun in her hand, and it scares Jeliza, and she falls back into the same hole that Mystique's head fell into. Yeah. Which was a tiny hole, but as she's falling into it, the hole gets bigger, and then this is the Alice in Wonderland comparison. She's falling down the rabbit hole. You've got syringes floating around. You've got like just different things from the movie. You've got the dead corpse of her father back there floating, and just a bunch of beds and like chocolate bars everywhere. And
it looks like a Marilyn Manson video.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think that this scene right here looks like the entire film of Brothers Grimm to me.
Oh yeah.
It's the same color palette, it's the same everything, the same angles. There's a lot here that is similar to the Brothers Grimm. But so the head of the other two dolls, who I wish I could remember their names, but I can't. I apologize. They're angels now. So I guess this does happen after she puts them in her father's corpse, because now they're dead to her. They're angels. They got little angel wings, and they're flying down and saying like that they're trying to figure out if she's dead or not, because she fell down this hole and she landed on a bed just like Alice does. That's like sticking out of the side of the hole, like the wall of the hole. And then it immediately cuts to Jeliza being in bed. So this happens right before the mummification of the corpse. That's right, because the heads are now on the bed.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
So let's summarize the rest of the movie.
The rest of the
Starting off with, all right, Jeliza and Dickens pretty much,
they're playing dress up.
they're playing dress up, and they pretty much become a couple. And
Yes.
and he reveals to her what his big dream is. In his big dream, he's got to show her his big secret. And oh my God, this is the point where I'm like, oh my God, he's not going to show her his pee-pee, is he?
Right.
And thank God he doesn't. He just shows her a few sticks of dynamite.
Yeah, he's got dynamite.
Yeah,
under
thank
his bed.
God he just has dynamite to play with.
To be fair, he does show her his bedroom, and then they do get. That's when.
Tongues get really close, but they don't.
Well, that's later on. Like the scene I'm talking about is like when they're in the living room of her grandmother's house, and she's putting lipstick on him. And that's when they actually kiss. But it's just kind of it's a peck on the lips. They're too close.
We've already talked about that.
Right. So at this point, yes, they are pretending. Jeliza is in love with him because her doll heads are they're constantly telling her that she loves him, and she tries it. No, I'm not. And it's obvious she is. She's just a little kid trying to figure out what the hell this is. She's too young to understand it. He's not in his right mind to understand it, really.
No.
It seems like he was sexually abused by her grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of his concept of what you do with a female.
Mm-hmm.
You silly kiss. You silly kiss each other.
Okay, another a really cute little point. I don't want to skip that because we've jumped around so much. When she releases the squirrel, I like that a lot. That was my favorite of her little voices when she was voicing the squirrel. It's like, hey, let me out of here.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know what she's going to do to me.
So she's Jeliza throughout the movie. She's given her personality to different inanimate objects, or in this case, squirrels, things like that. Yeah. The squirrel thing I didn't really get because I know that Dell had an issue with one of them that was always on a roof. And she just wanted to kill it or trap it or whatever.
Dude, it's a glitch. It's a glitch in the Matrix. We're talking about another movie where somebody hates fucking squirrels, man.
Yeah. Where fucked up things happen to kids. It's kind of a running gag, I guess, for the podcast.
Yes, it is.
But yeah. So
yeah, definitely the next movie will have nothing to do with children.
Yes. We already have it picked out, and we already know it won't.
It is about making babies, though.
It's true.
Whether you like it or not, we're making babies.
To sum up, basically what's going on here, they're kind of living in the house. So Dell and Noah's corpse are like a couple. Dickens and Jeliza are kind of friends, but they're also kind of a couple. And yeah, that's when we're treated to him showing her his bedroom.
His special secret.
And his special secret, which, as you pointed out, is 2 bundles of dynamite that were under his bed that he is going to...
That was the special secret I had under my bed when I was a child.
Really?
Well, it wasn't like manufactured dynamite.
Yeah.
It was just homemade dynamite. Well, and that's what I did. I take the fireworks and make it into little dynamites.
Yeah, I mean, back then, kids had weird shit. They had stuff they had no business having.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's showing her the dynamite, and his plan with this dynamite is to kill the monster shark.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I believe after this scene in the bedroom, Jeliza and him they're in the midst of making out again. They're going to, and that's when Dell walks in and sees what's happening, says that Jeliza is evil, and she starts grabbing Jeliza and throwing her around the room, and she throws her on the bed, and that's when Jeliza's boot crushes the head of her mummified mother.
Which was in the room that Dickens and Jeliza were about to make out in. We left that
they
out.
leave his bedroom. They go up to the attic to play dress up.
That's where we find out that the mother has been taxidermied the whole time.
Yes.
Who died from bee stings.
Yes. Her mother was attacked by
Bees.
a ton of bees.
This car is full of bees.
But so yeah, she crushes the head of the mother and runs out of the room and runs home. And that's when her father's corpse is in bed, and she's telling him, "I didn't do nothing, Daddy. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do anything." And then you hear a loud, by the way, this movie is full of loud, out of nowhere fucking trains and
Yeah, it starts off with her in the school bus.
Yes.
And going by, the train going by, and then her just making that little girl scream. You know, the one that makes your ears warble? Where it goes, she's doing that for like at least 30 seconds of this movie. I kind of enjoyed, but
I did not, because for some reason, at least with my television,
she just looked so happy.
Well, with my TV, I had to turn it up so I could hear what the fuck they're saying. But then out of nowhere, there's a fucking train noise or just something that just, and it's full of it.
That was something that was going on when this movie came out. The way that I think they've fixed sound in movies recently a lot better, where it's not really lows.
It's equalized better.
Yeah,
for sure. Because there's a few things like apps on my TV that do the same thing. Like Netflix is notorious for, you can't hear a fucking word they're saying. Mm-hmm. But then out of nowhere, there's like a loud fucking noise, or anytime a song plays or something, it's way too fucking loud. But it
reminds me of cartoons from the 90s. On regular broadcast television, sometimes they would get the voice track and the music track mixed up, and the music track would be way higher, but the voice track would be just a whisper. I remember it used to happen like on the Beetlejuice cartoon all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a budgetary thing.
Yeah. It was just...
Anyway. So yeah, just be aware that if you're going to watch this film, you're going to be treated to a lot of unintentional jump scares just due to loud noises. But anyways, this is one of those scenes where she tells her dad that she didn't do nothing, and then all of a sudden another loud fucking noise that breaks the windows. And
it didn't really jump scare me. I mean, I was expecting it to happen. I mean, I knew he was about to kill the monster train, so
so that's what's happening here.
At this point,
Dickens
they've done it so many times that you're like, oh, okay, here comes the boom.
It's part of the narrative at this point. But so now Dickens has set off the dynamite, and he has killed the monster shark. And Jeliza walks outside to see what the noise was. And that's when you see this Armageddon-esque scene where the train is in flames.
Yeah, it looked like that scene from Super 8.
Yeah, it's like Super 8 or Saving Private Ryan, where people were just like bleeding and they're...
Or even or Crash.
Yeah. the James Spader Crash.
Yeah. I was kind of expecting it to end up. Well, no. Dickens and little Jeliza. That is awful. Get that out of your.
So Jeliza walks up to the train wreck, and she's like, she sees a man that is Dickens. He's like happy as fuck that he killed this shark, but it turns out to be like just a dude that was on the train. Once he gets into frame, she can see it's just a very injured man that can't make sense of what the hell is going on.
He's got a head injury and he's shaking a lot.
Yeah, but he's kind of moving around like Dickens did. So she thought it was Dickens, and it isn't. And then a woman walks up to her and thinks that she is just a little girl that was on the train. And she's worried about her. Hey, where are your parents? She thinks her parents have died in this crash. So everything kind of has a nice, neat little bow on it because this woman is now, I guess, taking care of Jeliza Rose, or at least going to get her some kind of help.
Well, I mean, the beginning of the movie starts off with Jeliza outside of the train on the school bus. The train, the beginning and the end of the movie involves the train.
Yeah, it's
maybe this whole movie is about a little girl waking up after a train crash, just having a really weird dream.
You think she was on the train and then
maybe
all this was made up in her head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm sure you could dissect this thing in many different ways. According to the
maybe that wasn't a bus, and Jeliza and her daddy were on the train. And he kept farting so bad that it made the train conductor pass out and wreck the train. And
solid theory.
It is. Thank you.
But yeah, so at this point, we are now into the film. She's being taken care of by this woman that was on the train that's worried about her and her situation. So there you have it. Like I said, this movie it's got a setup with the parents dying, and then it's got a payoff with the train wreck, and then Jeliza being taken care of. But everything in between is just a childlike sense of imagination of what's going on around her and trying to cope with it by talking to her doll heads as imaginary friends. And so, again, this is not Terry Gilliam's best film at all. I get that it's in the low tier of his films. I still kind of like the movie.
Oh yeah, I like it.
It just
if not for anything, it's just her acting.
Yeah, this is like
she's just
again
chewing up the scenery.
Yes, she has a very heavy Southern accent. She is hamming it up through.
Does the little? I mean, that little girl doesn't have a Southern accent.
No,
I mean, no. Just to be able to do that, I mean, it's just the.
You can tell she's having fun with the role. She's definitely a natural at it.
Yeah.
Again, she's from Silent Hill, which I think was a fantastic film.
I looked her up, and I'm surprised I haven't seen her in anything else. But I'm sure she was pretty traumatized after doing this.
Well, she's much older. This film came out in 2009, I think, is when it was released. It was filmed in 2005, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So she's much older now, but this film only works with the right actor for this role because it's so heavily weighted on her performance and her ability to just move in and out of these different imaginary characters. And
do you think he wrote a lot of it around her?
According to the intro, Terry Gilliam wrote this film. He says this is his most important film. It's a film that he has been trying to get made. No studio would touch it, so he went ahead and funded it himself, put it through like the most independent of film companies to get this thing even put in any kind of theater. The theatrical release on this was very, very minimal, to the point where when this film came out, I was already a huge fan of Terry Gilliam, and I didn't know about this film until I saw it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I just caught it on like Showtime or something.
I think I was probably just looking up films of his for things to watch or something like that when I found out about it, and then I went and bought a copy. I bought it on DVD, then I got the Blu-ray later and got rid of the DVD, but let's see here. Let's say like bottom tier, mid tier. Where would you place this? Like, if you had to place this in between one of his other films, where would it lie? Or just at least out of the ones you've seen, because I've seen all of his films.
Bottom three.
Bottom three
by far, but that's not saying anything. Oh, that's it's not saying anything terribly bad about it. It's still a Terry Gilliam movie, right. So it's a good movie. There have to be the worst of the Quentin Tarantino. What would you say his worst movie is? You're going to get somebody who hates you because you said it.
Right. No, I agree with that. Even his worst films are still good films.
Yeah.
I like I said, I've never been sad that I watched a Terry Gilliam movie ever.
No.
I think his lowest of the low was probably that Man Who Killed Don Quixote movie, just because that one was just kind of bland.
I think I'll agree with that.
And,
I think this is right above that.
I put it above that for sure.
What's the third one though?
Brothers Grimm for me is kind of low.
Yeah.
And then there's the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, which I feel is like a mid-tier.
You just keep making 12 Monkeys jump up another rung every time you say another movie, because those are worse than 12 Monkeys.
I mean, when you're talking about 12 Monkeys, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Brazil, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, those things are the top tier movies that he is.
You think 12 Monkeys is one of the top tier?
Oh yeah.
Even in retro, I mean,
for sure. I put it up there with like Fisher King. Fisher King's fantastic. If you haven't seen that, go check that out because
I've seen it.
So when it comes to Tideland, the budget on this film way higher than I thought it was. It is a low budget film, and from what I understand, he did fund it entirely himself, maybe with a little support, but
I'm guessing 10.
$19,300,000. That's pretty high for a low budget film. What do you think this movie made?
Less than $1 million.
For sure. So
oh shit.
$566,000 worldwide.
At least it did better than Motorama.
Yeah, that's for sure. So yeah, this was a kind of an epic failure, but I think he kind of knew it would be. Again, that intro that he gives for this thing, he explains that this was not a film that was made to make money. This was a film that he had always wanted to make. Apparently, he identifies heavily with the Jeliza Rose character. She is supposed to be him as a child. Just the shit that he would get into. He grew up without television, things like that. So he had to rely heavily on imagination to keep himself entertained. But again, this intro, he does apologize because he knew he was going to alienate a lot of viewers. He knew that this was not going to make money. He knew that this was just a passion project that he needed to do for his own personal and whatever. But so yeah, I'd say 19 million with a $566,000 return is an epic failure. This is by far his worst performing movie, which by the way, his movies rarely ever perform well.
No. Which
is crazy to me, but I think it has a lot to do with the fact that
probably Brothers Grimm is probably his biggest moneymaker.
His biggest was probably Fear and Loathing. Just because people knew who Hunter S. Thompson
probably
was.
in after the fact, like theatrically.
I remember that movie being a big deal.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know about it until it was out on VHS.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. No,
buddy of mine brought some acid over and said, "Hey, let's watch this cool movie." And we watched it on my little 13-inch TV VCR combo.
Right.
And I must have watched it 5 times that night.
Fear and Loathing came out in 98. By 1998, I was definitely aware of who Terry Gilliam was. As a director, not really as a Monty Python guy. But yes, I remember Fear and Loathing being a thing because even the soundtrack, like all my friends had the soundtrack to that thing for whatever reason. But here, let's see. I can see Fear and Loathing. Let's see what this grossed. Okay, wow. No, I guess this didn't do as well as I thought. $46 million budget, made $8 million.
Yeah.
But again, the return on Terry Gilliam films.
But I'm sure the DVD and video rental stuff on Fear and Loathing knocked it out.
Yeah,
of the park.
that for sure, because that movie was something that my friends always had on TV.
Just the merchandise. I mean,
yeah. Wow, I'm really surprised at that. I figured at least like people not knowing
It's
who
a
Chucky
cult.
Young
It's a
is.
cult classic. I mean, it took some time to get out there. They couldn't advertise it. Who's gonna? I mean,
Well, I mean, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas was a major book well before it was turned into a film.
but what I'm talking about is like family, not family friendly.
Families
but
were not going to go see that.
to the mainstream public. Most people aren't going to get Fear and Loathing.
No, it's that you definitely got to be a fan of Hunter S. Thompson to even want to see that movie. You know what I mean? Tideland, I think, is his worst performing movie. I can see why. It's not really a movie. It's not like a movie for people who want to watch a movie.
It reminds me. It makes me think of like a movie that a director of music videos like.
Terry Gilliam's movies definitely have a music video.
Like an
quality
Alice
to them.
in Chains video.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know that he's ever directed any music videos, but you could definitely see this being in like, especially things from the 90s when you're getting like Fisher King and your 12 Monkeys, things like that. 12 Monkeys especially looks like a music video whenever Bruce Willis is in that time machine room or whatever, and you got that big ball of TVs. That is fucking like 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
That entire room. But yeah, what do you have left to say about this film?
I recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, do too. It's going to make you uncomfortable in some scenes, unless you're jaded like I am. I mean, the makeout scenes were definitely cringy for me to get through, but as far as like watching a little girl put heroin in a syringe, I think it was done fine. If you're like a hardcore Christian or something, it's going to irritate you. But I mean, if you're just kind of a middle of the road kind of person that's jaded by the world around you, I don't think it's going to piss you off or make you uncomfortable. It's just kind of fucked up, and it's not something that you're
Fucked up shit happens.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it should. Like these stories, we should be able to tell these stories through this narrative because this child exists today. Somewhere in the world, there's a child that helps their parents have drugs. I mean, it happens. I know it does for a fact. I'm aware of people that I've known in my life that had kids that maybe didn't fill up a syringe, but they were definitely present while they were doing drugs and around drugs and talking about drugs and having sex with each other.
I saw a 3-year-old smoke a joint once when I was like 14.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's just a little background about Chucky, about Chucky's childhood.
Look, man, growing up in the 90s was weird. It really was. We all had a relative or a friend that had a relative. For me, it was a kid that I went to high school with. His uncle was the place we went that he just didn't give a fuck what we did.
No.
He always bought us beer. He bought us liquor. He gave us weed. He let us bring girls over, whatever the hell we wanted to do. He did not care. He would cook ribs on the fucking barbecue at like 3:00 in the morning. He was a redneck. He lived in a trailer and out in the middle of a trailer park somewhere in like East Texas.
Let's not trade blows on fucked up shit we saw when we were kids. Anyway, the movie, would you would recommend it? I would. Should we tell them the next movie we're going to do?
No. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. If you've made it this far, you're a trooper. I appreciate it.
I think we're getting better.
I don't.
Fuck
I think we're
you.
getting more comfortable, but better? I don't know about that.
God, you just destroyed me. I thought I did a good job this time.
No, you did. I didn't. Anyways.
You're right. You suck.
Thanks, guys. Next week, maybe better. We definitely have a better film.
Oh, yeah.
It's one that Chuck and I are both looking forward to. And I will take notes. I'm actually going to take notes on this one because I want to talk about this one.
I don't even have to take notes. This movie is amazing. I love you.
Thanks for
Bye.
joining us. Bye.